Good morning and welcome to Touch Base Daily. My name is Ron Foster and I'm touching base with you as I always do. It is Friday through Saturday. Oh, I gotta. Something's going on with my page here. What is going on? Do I have another? Hold on a second. I have a feedback going on. Hold on. I got a feedback going on. Hold on. Let me figure this out. What's happening? Holy moly. I've never had this happen before. Oh, you know what it is? I am on another page. There we go. Let's get rid of that. There we go. I was like, I'm hearing myself echoing. That can't be happening. Anyway, I hope you guys all it's first of all, today is Wisdom Wednesday. And so you know what we do on Wisdom Wednesdays? We have our guests, someone that's gonna share some great wisdom. And we have today our Mr. Brendan Miller. And I am so excited to share this amazing photographer with you guys. And I learned of him through Photoville. As a matter of fact, I was just hanging out doing work. I was just working, and the next day, and I was like, "Who's that person taking photos over there?" And then it turned out it was the photographer. But we're going to talk about that in a moment. Just want to make sure I get into you guys and say hello. Happy Juneteenth. Today is Juneteenth. I know that I had a great discussion with Gwendolyn yesterday, being that she's from Houston, and the whole ceremony of Juneteenth is really from Texas. And so how they got, there's three things that are going on with Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a day of reflection of where Black people have come from as being slaves. And then also there's this component of rejoicing after. So there was this walk, I'm not sure if they still do it, but the walk from Houston all the way down to Galveston, where the actual Juneteenth moment took place when they announced to these slaves that you are free. And you've been free for 2.5 years, but you didn't know it. Sounds like, I know I'm not going to go there on Texas. I'm not going there, but these anomalies happen in Texas. I don't know. But anyway, so all those Texans, I'm giving a shout out to the Texans. I love the Texans. Like I said, I have a lot of friends in Texas. I visit Texas. I love Texas. However, the Texans over the American history have done some crazy stuff. So anyway, let's say hello to some folks. I see Hannah's in the building. Hannah, good morning. And I see also Mr. Omar Ramos, photographer, mentor, strategist is in the building. What's going on, Mr. Omar? Mr. Photography King in Texas. Speaking of Texas, hey, Alicia is in the building. Alicia Jordan is in the building. Welcome, 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 welcome. Jesus Blackman is in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So also let me just see who's over in the over in our Instagram page. So those that are on Instagram, I always say come on over to YouTube because you'll get a better experience. Again, you could put it on your flat screen television. You could put it on a laptop. You could put it on your tablet. You can put it many places and work or do other things while you're listening. So move over to YouTube. Come on, join us on YouTube. And once you get here, like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so there you have it. And where we are, we're Touch Base Daily on YouTube. So, okay, so let me see who else is in the building. Hey, Kelly is in the building. What's going on, Kelly? Miss Kelly is in the building. Trish is in the building. West Coast is in. I know that this show, this community is totally complete when Trish pops on, because that is pretty much the earliest people get up here in the United States to see us. Because she's all the way on the West Coast. And if she's up and ready to be on board, there's no one else that has an excuse not to be here on time. That's right. There's a time requirement to be here. How do you chat individually to people? Oh, well, you can talk if you are new to this platform. You can chat in the chat room. It's always going on. This is a community. This is not a show like Morning Joe. This is a community of folks that gather together every day to connect, build each other up, share. We talk about politics, we talk about photography, we talk about creatives, we talk about all kinds of stuff. And that's what we do here at Touch Base Daily. And so anyway, I'm not going to keep you long because I want to get time in for our guests because he got a lot to share. And I'm sure someone is going to walk away wiser than they arrived, because that's what we believe in this community. You should always leave smarter, wiser every time you visit Touch Base Daily. So here we go. Here we go with no further ado. I'm not even going into announcements. I'll do that later. So maybe I should do announcements. But maybe I should do announcements. I can just keep it going. Because we never know. We may go into overtime. So just so you know, let me give you just a couple of announcements. This Saturday, we will be having our meetup group meeting at Coney Island. So we will be in Coney Island this Saturday, and we will be here we go, RLP Urban Photographers Meetup. You can find us on the Meetup app. Capturing the Mermaid Parade at Coney Island, June 22nd. We'll be there from 1 p.m. You want more information, just go to the app and you'll get all the information. Sign up. Make sure you do that. Also, end of the month, I want to make sure you are aware of this. The Poor People's Campaign with Bishop William J. Barber, the second. This event takes place on the 29th in Washington, D.C. This is a rally and a rally call for the poor in America. So make sure if you are in the DC area, show up. If you are able to go to the DC area, show up. It is going to be life-changing because, again, you know how we believe in this community. Vote, vote, vote. And if poor people or people that are considered, quote unquote, poor in America vote, they could change policies in this country if they knew their power. So there are a lot of poor people in this country by the standards of the state statistics, and they can make a difference if they sign up and register to vote and then actually vote. You can make policy changes wherever you are. The power of the vote. Okay, so that is one announcement. And I've got also Jamel Shabazz, who is one of our community pillars here. Jamel, he is in exhibition at Echoes of Tomorrow. We Are the Future Ancestors. This is at the Oculus from the 12th, which is already passed, to the 26th. It's open every day from 12 to 6 p.m. It is a beautiful gallery celebrating. You'll see New York City photography, and you'll see photography dedicated to hip hop. So check it out. You got Busta Rhymes on the wall there. You got what do you call it? Nas on the wall there. You got Jay-Z on the wall there. So check it out. It's a great exhibition. Check it out at the Oculus here in Manhattan, New York City, at the World Trade Center. Okay, I think, and I got one more announcement. And if you are in the Patreon community, in my Patreon community, if you are a Patreon community person, make sure put on your calendar tomorrow. We will be having our Q&A session. A Q&A session is like free for all. Free. We're going to have like a free area of just talking about photography and how can I help you with photography and what kind of tips or what are you thinking about photography and how we can it's just a open discussion on photography tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure if you are in the Patreon community, send me a note. I'll also put a formal pitch out there marketing today, and you can just add to it on the bottom that you are going to attend, and you will have the link to this StreamYard community, but it will be enclosed and private. It won't be public. It will be private for the Patreon community. Okay, some more people have walked in the door. And again, let me pop that off the screen. Again, this is Wisdom Wednesday, and we have a special guest coming on right in 1 minute. So I'm going to have him on, and that is Mr. Brendan Miller. So excited, photographer and documentarian. Okay, Lisa's in the room. What's going on, Lisa? You're late, but you're not that late. Okay, Lisa, she's up and on time. There we go. Good morning, everyone, Lisa says. Trish says the Mermaid Parade sounds fun. It is. It's going to be amazing. Okay, I think our guest is pretty much ready. I think he is almost there. And so he's working on his camera at the moment. Omar, she said, okay, good. Hannah's in. Okay, we're all good. Everything looks good. Okay, guys, with no further ado, we have Mr. Brendan Miller. What's going on, Brendan?
What's going on, Ron?
He's such a calm spirit. So
I'm not sure everybody would say that, but I'm calm right now. It's Juneteenth, and I'm off today, so
yes,
no reason to be stressed out.
So, guys, let me take what we have him here, but Brendan, well, first of all, what are you up to today? I mean, today is your day off. It's Juneteenth. How will you be spending this day?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Appreciate this opportunity to come on Touch Base Daily with, one of the OG New York photography legends like yourself. This is a special opportunity for me. I know this is supposed to be a day of wisdom. I don't know how much wisdom I will be offering, but I hope folks are able to take something from my story and benefit from it. But today is a day of reflection, as we spoke about, as you spoke about in your intro. It's a day of celebration, and I think it's a day of gratitude and a day of thanks for how far we have come as a people. But also hopefulness of how far we have left to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me, I think Juneteenth has always been, an opportunity to just pause and think. As Black folks, generally, when we pause and think, we do so and have a good time around it. And so I'm really gonna just do that today. Pause, think, have a nice time, and just take in this beautiful weather and this beautiful day.
Wow, awesome! And so here we go. Let's dive into it. We have a little thing that we do here. We ask a couple of little questions, and just so we can get to know you, and everyone can get to know you, and say, hey, oh yeah, okay, we got. So one of the questions we always ask here is, what is one of your most have foods on a stranded island? If you were on a stranded island, what would be the food that you must have?
I'm gonna go ahead and say shrimp. I love shrimp.
Shrimp.
I love shrimp. It's like, it was the Forrest Gump character.
Forrest Gump, Bubba.
Yeah, Bubba. Like, I'm Bubba from Forrest Gump. I love shrimp. And if we're on a stranded island, like, hopefully I'll be able to harvest some. I'm all about like sustainable harvesting and like catching your own food and getting your own produce and whatnot. So I would love some sort of seafood, some sort of protein to keep me going. So I would say that would be my number one option. My number two would probably be like a coconut, because you can do a lot of different things with a coconut.
Yes.
The water is great. I drink coconut water all the time. And the meat is great, super nutritious. So those would be my two go-tos, probably some shrimp and some coconut.
Shrimps and coconut. I love it. And also, here's one. 3 fun facts about Brendan that no one knows, or they know, but only the people that are close to you know. But what are 3 fun facts about you.
3 fun facts about me. So my mother's from Trinidad. Not everybody knows that about me because I don't have an accent. My mother doesn't have an accent, but she's born in Trinidad. And so that is a story that is near and dear to my heart, very important to me. I wear this pendant, which is a coin from Trinidad, because it always reminds me of her and makes me think of my roots and where I come from. And so, you know, the Caribbean diaspora, which is something that is a central theme of my my work, is definitely something that's important to me, and I think is a cool part about my backstory. Another fun fact that a lot of people do not know about me is I spent the early part of my career working in financial crime. And I was doing forensic accounting, and so I was working on a lot of white collar corruption and money laundering and drug trafficking cases for many years. And so that is a skill set that you know, folks say they don't really understand the connection between like the creative work that I'm doing now and my backstory as a forensic accountant and working in financial crime. But I actually think there's a lot of synergies between those two disciplines. And I think my background in investigations really serves me well when it comes to storytelling. So that has been a bit of a transformation. And the third fun fact about me, and this is, you know, just personal, is I'm a new dad. So super excited about that. Just welcomed a baby girl a few weeks ago. And, you know, I'm a pretty private person, and I enjoy having, you know, a bit of a separation between my work life and my personal life, but super excited to have her. And she's definitely going to be inspiring a lot of my work moving forward.
Wow. And I got a chance to see her, and she is adorable. It was, like I said, when I was at Photoville, I was working at the South Street Seaport. That was my duties for that day, was to be at South Street Seaport, other than outside of the Brooklyn campus. And so I'm just looking at this couple, and I'm seeing them hanging out, and I'm like, you know, just they're under the umbrella, and then I was like, and then I saw you take out your camera, and I was like, maybe there's something going on here. And then I saw as people were taking in your work, and I'm gonna bring this up to the screen. They were taking in your work. This is some of the stuff from Photoville. But here's Brendan right here. And so I saw him with the camera. I saw him what's going on. I said, something is happening over there. And then I walked over and said, is this your work? And then I just struck the conversation with him. And this exhibition is absolutely incredible because of its origin. And let me take people. Let me see if I can do that right here. But you can explain some of these photos if you like. This is he has these wonderful chefs, but he's talking about why they were called cooks, but now giving giving homage and honor to what they really are chefs. But anyway, you can talk about it. What is this project, sir, that you've been diving into? And then we'll go into your career journey later, but I wanted to just dive into your Photoville exhibition.
Absolutely.
So that way we have some time, get some time in there, make sure we do this some justice, because first of all, how did you go about the process of doing this project? And was it this project was first and then you moved it and submitted it to Photoville? Or was it Photoville was your inspiration to create it? So how does it go? How did it happen?
So I do credit Photoville for partly inspiring this project. Not necessarily from a content standpoint, but from a landing standpoint. Um, so I tell people the genesis of this project is really started last summer. I was at, it was Caribbean Heritage Month. It was June of 2023. And I attended a pop-up dinner with two Caribbean chefs who actually are featured in the series, Brittany Sticks Williams and Kamari Mick. And both of these chefs were talking about their inspiration, and they were also talking about their accolades. And they were introducing themselves and talking about their food. And it was a dinner that was hosted by 10 to 1, which is a Trinidadian rum brand. And they were remarking very casually about these recognitions, and it struck me that it's very rare in any industry for young people of color to be leading their respective discipline professionally and be recognized as such. And so it made me think of the history of Black folks who are chefs in America. And it also made me think of, just generally professionally, us as Black folks, how we're regarded. And, really a lot of times if we do get recognition early on in our life for excellence in a certain field, it's generally because of athletics or entertainment.
Yes.
And here we have these culinary artists, chefs, who are recognized as the best in their class. And what's the story behind that? Is this a new phenomenon? Is this something that has been happening? What's the story behind these chefs? What inspires their food or their art? Because I think food is a form of art. And what is the history behind that? And I was just super curious, and it made me want to do more research. I knew a few chefs in New York City, and I'm really big into historical framing. And so everything that I do, I like to do research on the history of it before I just dive in.
Yes.
And so it really, in 2020, Steven Satterfield did an incredible Netflix series called High on the Hog.
Yes, I love that series.
Yeah, which really dived into the history of Black folks' contributions to the American culinary discourse.
Yes.
And that series, I think, really galvanized Black folks in the food community, brought us together, made us think more about our history, because it was just so beautifully done. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to focus in a little bit more on the chefs and drill into their stories. And a lot of times, we'll see these high gloss images in magazines, or maybe it's through social media, of the food that they produce or of their portraits. But is anyone really diving into the inspiration behind their creative process?
Yes.
And so I wanted to understand that more. And that's why it's called Chef Not Cook, the Process to Plate. Because one, the first part, the Chef Not Cook, is an ode to the historical marginalization that chefs of color have faced, being referred to as cooks. And in every kitchen that I'm in now, the term chef is a term that denotes respect. And so one, that they've been able to, and they deserve to be referred to as chefs. And then the second part of the title, The Process to Plate, what is the process, the creative process for them to plate this incredible food? What's their family history? What's their diaspora history?
Yes.
What are their interests outside of the kitchen?
Yes.
What's their family like? What is their travel plans? Where have they been, and how has that informed their experiences? All of these different aspects influence what they produce. And so I was fascinated by that. And so this is an ode to the origin story of the chef of color. And it's also very deeply rooted in New York City, because the way I frame this is that this culinary renaissance, which is happening exactly 100 years after the Harlem Renaissance,
Yes.
is is based around New York City. All of these chefs are New York-based chefs, and there's a special movement happening right now of this class of chefs of color who are collaborating and helping each other and promoting each other,
Wow.
cooking for each other. And so I wanted to create a historical capsule of all that.
It's I have it on the screen, and what was so cool is I got to meet these two ladies, two women, mother and daughter, and they were so full of joy when they saw their picture as they see it here. And I got a chance to photograph them as well when they would do, interacting, um, and they were so happy to be a part of this project and to see their face in the middle of, and you walk straight into South Street Seaport, there they are. I mean, it's like, this is your exhibition. It's one of the first pieces that you see as you move through South Street Seaport. So tell us about these beautiful women. There's some good stories between the daughter and the mom. So
Yeah.
you can definitely share about who they are and what they've accomplished.
So I mentioned this chef already. Her name is Brittany Sticks Williams. She's from Queens. She's of Jamaican origin. And this photograph I took is with her mom. And, this happened so organically, and that's so important to me. I didn't shoot in a studio.
Yes.
I didn't use any artificial lighting. I really wanted these images to be candid and organic. And so, as I've said to you, I really frame this as like reaching out to chefs and figuring out like what their inspiration was. And so I wanted to capture them in the kitchen, but I also wanted to capture them in some aspect of life that informed their cooking. And so in talking to Brittany before I photographed, she was like, we do this callaloo harvest. My family is really big into like farm to table eating.
Yes.
Have this garden, and we love to grow our peppers and our greens and all of this produce. And the thing that really is special to us is callaloo. And so, I don't know, so the Caribbean callaloo is very interesting because it can mean different things to different people.
Yes.
So my family is from Trinidad. What we call callaloo is actually dasheen bush. We call it dasheen bush, right? And it's swizzled with okra and generally a crab or a pigtail to give it that real, flavor. And what Jamaicans eat as callaloo is a different plant. So I'm immediately fascinated by this. I love the idea. And so she was like, yeah, we're going to do a callaloo harvest. And then we're going to actually use the produce the next day for a pop-up event.
Yes.
So I was like, perfect, done. So I came over the house that day, and we, just started doing the harvest and just started talking. And her mom's name is Lorraine, and her mom was there, and her sister was there, and we just were kind of talking about food and talking about their inspiration and talking about how that informed Brittany's culinary journey.
Wow.
And so the picture is just a real candid moment of mom, grabbing some produce, and Brittany's harvesting callaloo. And obviously they have such a beautiful chemistry between them as mother and daughter. And I just snapped the picture. We're talking, we're laughing, we're joking, we're telling stories, and that's how this picture came about.
Wow. I mean, isn't that, that's what makes photography so beautiful, is when you are connecting with the people, having conversations, and it's when true, I always say, photographers that are doing their job right, it's not about just clicking and getting an image. It really is about telling their story, giving depth to the moment, connecting with the individual or the subject, and then by doing that, the beautiful picture comes naturally.
Right.
There's no effort. There's no, like, you pose here, you go there, you just go here. Most of the time when you have had that major engagement with those, the people or a person, when it comes to click the button, it just happens.
Yeah.
And man, and I talked to I chatted with Sticks for a moment on my page, on my Instagram. And she said, "Oh my God, I wish I could be there. I want to be there to see Brendan." And so, I told her, I said, we do have it's on YouTube, so you can plus replay. But she was so like, she really appreciate what you did, and you can hear it even in the way she texts. She was like, you could feel the energy, like, as she was sending me her DM.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so now there was another group. There was the two gentlemen. Let me see,
Yeah.
these guys.
Yes.
This was, like I said, for those that don't know, the South Street Seaport exhibition for Photoville, most of those cubes were connected to food from different angles.
Right.
There was the Canadian, how the indigenous people, their food sources have changed because they can't hunt like they used to. They've moved from actual hunting to now eating canned foods, and how that affects them as their health. Then there was another one, how in Mississippi, the food, because there's not enough population there to support the businesses of Black businesses there. And so all these major restaurants and stores have now gone to the dustbin of history. And but your exhibition in this all was so current. And I think of all of them, your exhibition was this moment of, when I was reading through it, it was this moment of hope. It allowed me to see, like, I had never thought about the term chef and cook. For me, I always said, whenever and I had never made the thought connection that in my head we've been conditioned, when we see a Black person who cooks, that they are just simply cooks. We've been conditioned to never use the word chef. Yeah. So when I read through your essay on it, I was like, holy moly, I never thought about this. Never. And I eat a lot. I go out to restaurants all the time. And but yeah, for centuries, Black people have been called cooks. And now, thank God that you are giving insight to the term chef, because that's what it's due. That's what they deserve. That is what they do. They are chefs. They're creating. They're putting. To be a chef is work.
Yeah.
That's a profession.
Yes.
And many of what we call cooks are living a profession as chefs. So I have another question before we go into these gentlemen. What about this particular life drew you in such a way that you wanted to take the history, you wanted to look at the history, you wanted to bring all the pieces, you started to use your forensic tools to bring all of this together, to then now say, you know what, this is a story worth telling? What was the triggering point, that there was something that had to happen in you that said, this has to be done. This is my passion project. I'm going to make it happen.
Well, this is a topic that's always been very close to me, because I grew up in a family where food and coming together was very important. I mentioned that my mom is from the island of Trinidad. My dad is born in the South Bronx, but raised in North Carolina. Both of those cultures, people coming together and eating is very important. And in my mom's culture, especially, where you get your food from is very important. I used to spend my Saturdays, we would volunteer in the morning, and then we would go and we would source food for the coming week. And generally, we had somebody come over for dinner on Sunday. So that included going to Arthur Avenue for fresh meats. We had, a produce stand that we would go to. My mom would take me to farmers markets. We would go to, Mom had this guy a fishmonger that she would source her fish from. And he would get his fish every morning from Holton Fish Market, which is kind of ironic because I ended up having this presentation in South Street Seaport right next to Fulton Fish Market, which was an important part of like my food journey as a kid. So a very full circle moment. But, I was always in my mind thinking about where did this food come from? Where is the origin of the thing that's on my plate? And the other thing that was instilled in me was this desire to never just settle for whatever is just available from a food standpoint. So we didn't have a lot growing up, but I remember that my dad, before we would go to a city, he would always go to the library and take out the Photos book, which was like, probably people forgot about this, but it was an old little maroon guide that had a lot of each city's best restaurants and fancy restaurants. It was also hole in the wall spots. And so I remember we took a family trip to California once, and we were in San Francisco eating in this little hole in the wall. We're the only people that are not of Chinese origin who are in this spot, and we're eating it. I don't know how we found this place. It's like the outside looks broken down and the food is incredible, right?
The hole in the walls are the best place to eat.
Yeah. So like that attention to detail and finding good food, and then for our personal table, sourcing good food always gave me just like a really strong appreciation for what it takes to create a plate. And so I took that curiosity with me, and I always had it. I love to cook. I cook a lot in my personal life. I love to source food. I love to grow food. I do that in my personal life. And so this was a marriage of my passions, right? I love photography. I love storytelling. And for me, this was really my first like dive into a storytelling project. And so I wanted to do it about something that I was most passionate about and most knowledgeable about. And so, as I mentioned, kind of the spark was this this Caribbean Heritage Month dinner that I attended with Sticks and with Kamari, and just hearing them talk about their accomplishments, and then thinking more broadly about this class of chefs in New York City and what they're accomplishing right now, and how historic that is. If you look back at the history of Black chefs in America, it hasn't been like this. The James Beard Awards were last week, and a number of Black chefs came away with recognitions.
Wow.
Charlie Mitchell, one of the chefs that is featured in the series and is in that image that you just had up on the screen. He won Best Chef in New York State. And that's a historical moment. Cherie Williams, who is working on an amazing publication, which did a feature on me last week called Culinary Noir, won an award as an emerging storyteller. These sort of recognitions were not happening historically for us. And so when I looked at that history and I saw how we were historically marginalized from these, fine dining establishments and these fine dining recognitions, and I saw now there was a shift in that,
Yes.
oh, this is something special. We need to put a pin in this and try to document it. And so that's really what drove me to continue on and telling the story, and not only not only photographing, but listening, listening
Yes.
to hearing their stories, recording and documenting their journey. And so that's how we got this body of work.
Well, I sat there and I was like, because I'm going to share your screen, my screen here from your website, and you not only took pictures, but you also recorded people's stories in regards to what they were doing. And what was that like to sit down with these wonderful chefs and then hear their story and hear their journey? I'm gonna go. This is some of the people that were there, and this is your show, and gosh, these are. When I see this picture, I was like, it feels like you're in the country, but these are New Yorkers.
I
And
love that. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you really can't tell where you are. Obviously I'm reading and I'm like, oh wow, this is New York, and these folks are from New York City, but it was just really cool to be able to see that. But let me go to have your page set up here. Let me pop in here. There we go. And you got some stuff coming up, but these are all these amazing chefs. So guys, you can go to his page when you get a chance to. I'll have that link on the page as well on the description. But look at this was a major undertaking.
Yeah.
The Photoville is just like a sampler.
It's just a sample. Yeah. Yeah.
Look at these chefs. If you want to stop me at any one of these to talk about them, let me know. I'm just scrolling through them because it's.
I have to. So really, I have to give a shout out to Kukua from Asempe Kitchen. That's the first one that you see there. Definitely give a shout out to her, especially because her brick and mortar location is opening this month at the country.
Wow.
Super excited about. She is a Ghanaian chef who is definitely was a big inspiration behind this series. Yeah, she does Ghanaian plant-based food. She was the only chef that I photographed outside of New York City. And her story is really interesting because she has a background in higher education, and she pivoted to creating this food that was centered around her background, growing
Yes.
up, and really making it more plant forward. But her story is just one of resilience and rediscovering herself. And so the conversation actually I had with her is one of the things that inspired this title of Chef Not Cook. One of the quotes that you'll see actually was in the exhibit was we were talking about the historical marginalization of Black folks.
Yes.
Or chefs of color. And she said, it's really hard because I'm a Black woman, and traditionally people see me and they see me in a kitchen and they think there's the cook. And even for me and my family, a lot of the chefs that I photographed are the product of immigration and diaspora.
Yes.
My background is, like I said, is from the Caribbean. When you're from the Caribbean, our parents did not work this hard for you necessarily to go be a chef or go be a cook, right?
Or even be a photographer.
Right. Like a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, the stakes are higher.
Yes.
And it's a cultural phenomenon that is really interesting. There's a high level of achievement and expectation for us. And unfortunately, historically, there's been this connotation, not just with folks outside of our culture, but even within our culture.
Yes, yes.
People that cook, it's a menial job. And part of this series is celebrating the fine art of the discipline of being a chef and
Wow.
recognizing that, for others and for us, it's not just cooking. There's skill involved in this. There's a lot of detail and a lot of precision. And just like we would celebrate an artist, or we would
Yes.
celebrate someone who is a a doctor or a lawyer, or we would recognize their expertise as a subject matter expert, we need to do the same for chefs because this is a highly specialized skill.
Wow. Man. I mean, like I said, I when I went to your page, I was like, wow. I mean, and I am so glad. And this is one of the beauties of Photoville. And I'm gonna give a shout out to Photoville,
Yeah.
is because
Yeah. Shout out Photoville. They're awesome.
I would have never. Oops, let me pop this in. I would have never ever met you. We would not be having this conversation. We would not be sharing your work. We would not be looking into the thought of chefs and food and cooks and that whole dynamic of thinking if this was not displayed at South Street Seaport, where, and I'm sure I'm not the only person. I'm sure, because let me tell you, I was based in South Street Seaport twice this year. Usually I'm over here in Brooklyn.
Mhm.
But I was there for 2 days on assignment. That was my what I was supposed to be doing for Photoville while I was on staff there. And it was one of the displays that people just kept going to. And so I wonder, have you encountered these people? Do it have, like myself, I reached out to you, but are there other people that have reached out to you on Instagram, or that were like, oh my gosh, I got to get this person's information and reach out? Were there any other folks that would like say, hey, I saw your work at South Street Seaport and I just wanted to say hello?
Yeah, Ron, when you create art and you put it out into the world, you don't know how people are going to receive it.
Yes.
And I did this project, and we're talking now in retrospect, but there were moments that I was doing this that I had doubt. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted the world to receive this, but I didn't know how people would respond to it. And I think one of the most beautiful experiences of the past 2 weeks was silently watching people's reactions to this work at Photoville, and seeing the images were in London as well. And, just the reception of folks, seeing that they were genuinely interested, that it resonated with their personal stories.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why you saw me there at Photoville that day is because I literally just wanted to sit and watch people react to the art. And one of the things I really enjoyed doing was, letting people kind of take it in, and then I would just anonymously go up to them and say, hey, what made you stop and look at this exhibit? What made you interested and drawn to these images and the story? And hearing their different responses, and I recorded some of them, was just really heartwarming. People through Instagram reaching out to me. Actually, I think it started a few days before Photoville even began. A complete stranger reached out to me on Instagram and sent me a video of them installing the panels of my exhibit. And
Mm.
I don't know who you are. I've never met you, but I'm watching them put each panel up, and I'm like following the story as they're putting each panel up. And she said, I can only imagine how hard you worked on this. And if I were you, I'd want to see them installing my work into this space. And so I took this video because I want you to see it, and I want to congratulate you for telling this incredible story.
Wow.
And, you know, for me, like, it's almost like emotional because you put so much time and effort
Yes.
into this, and to see someone else recognize it, and then see so many other people over the past couple of weeks recognize and enjoy this work. It's really heartwarming for me, and motivating. It makes me want to tell other stories. But I'm so happy that the world and my city received the work, and that the chefs that this represents felt like it dignified them, because that's really
Wow.
important. I don't, you know, I'm a storyteller. It's important that I dignify the people in the stories that I tell. And so the fact that, you know, the world, my city, but also the chefs enjoy it.
Wow. Man, if you guys have a question, you know how we roll in here. If you have a question, put Q and then your question. We'll open up some questions if you have for Brendan, because I find this so fascinating. One is because I love food so much. I love it. I was just at a restaurant last night. So a black owned business here in New York, in my neighborhood here in Brooklyn, Soko. And the food is so good. It's Caribbean, uh Louisiana kind of mixed fusion, kind of different jambalaya, and all the other stuff that when you eat there, I was like, oh, this is great. So my buddy's here from out of town, and he's like, let's go check it out. Let's go check it out. I mean, he grew up here, but now he lives in another state, and he's staying with me. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's go eat. so,
Right.
so if you have a question, put that in there with a Q and then your question. And I see one right off the back from photographer Omar Ramos. He says, how did you get into photography?
So I have been taking pictures my entire life, but I really tell people the pandemic changed my photography journey. Everyone had a lot of extra time, and you know, like I mentioned to you, I'm the type of person where if I dive into something, I really want to research it and do it well. And so I've been taking pictures kind of just casually, and one of my other passions is travel. Um, and I've been to all these places, and I had all of these pictures, but I never thought of myself as a photographer. And during the pandemic, I started taking these classes through the Museum of Modern Art. They taught me composition and lighting and the history of different cameras and film exposure, all of these different intricacies of photography. And I just fell in love with it. And,
I didn't even know they had a class at the Museum of Modern Art.
Yeah, it was a free class. It was a free class that was offered. It was like a number of weeks, and I just was like, of course, like why wouldn't I do this? The pandemic here, and it was a lot of time on our hands, and I signed up and I took the class, and it really changed my life.
Wow.
And I really started taking street photography pictures. First I cataloged all the pictures I had, right? And I was like, okay, I have all these pictures from my travels around the world. All right, now I want to think about what I want to do with them. And, you know, as I mentioned at the outset, I'm a pretty private person. So like I kind of think about sharing a lot of my stuff or my work. I never even really thought people would be that interested in it. And so, you know, really it started off with just like posting pictures of my travels and focusing on street photography. I love candid moments. I love people, the suddenness of capturing people when they're not expecting it. And so I started off capturing that. And then at the time in New York City, the streets were barren. So areas that previously were heavily occupied and we would see all this bustle was missing. And so it was like this dystopian view of New York where it's like I Am Legend and like things that
I felt the same way. I Am Legend.
like that like sparked a whole whole kind of creative journey of like
Yes.
capturing people in solitude, capturing people in singularity, and on the street. And then from there, it just took off. Really focused on street photography the first couple of years of my work, and then after that, I was doing it for a couple of years, and I said, I want to tell more stories. I want to tell more stories. I want to get more into the subject. Street photography is great, but it can be a little impersonal.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to tell more about the subjects that I was photographing. And so it made me really dive into this documentary photography outlet of, really sitting down with subjects, interviewing them, photographing them, tracing their stories, and putting it together.
Wow. Here's another question from Alicia Jordan. She says, will your exhibit travel? How can we bring you to Atlanta and other places?
I'd love to do that. I was talking to a couple of the other photographers that were displayed at the Seaport, and we were talking about collaborating. So stay tuned, Alicia. There might be something coming to Atlanta or to a city near you. We do want to build upon this momentum of this exhibit. And, as you mentioned, Ron, there's so much of my work that was not shown.
Yes.
Images, which was really tough, and whittle them down and edit them for this exhibition for Photoville. But there are many other images and even chefs whose stories I didn't get to tell.
Yes.
So stay tuned. We're going to keep building on this momentum, and I think that there is some other opportunities for us to display this work.
I mean, and this is just me because my brain automatically goes into, when I see something that I love, my brain just like, I go into the marketing, I go into the future, I start thinking of all these things. And this is one of those projects that I think can grow wings and be so much to so many, because we all live in the arena of food. I mean, it is
Right.
the diaspora, and this is Juneteenth, and we're talking about Black culture, but it's not even just Black culture. It's people in general. You go everywhere around the world, When I'm in Africa, in like place like Ghana or Nigeria, it's all about the food.
Yes.
It's all about the food. But we're also, when I'm in Spain, in Madrid or Toledo or Salamanca, I got to spend time in Salamanca for some time. And it's all about the food. Think about, I'll never forget, I was walking around in Salamanca. My friend was going to school there, and I went to visit him and spend some time. And Salamanca is the capital or the origin of Spanish. So people travel to Salamanca in Spain to learn Spanish. But when you are in Salamanca, there are all these restaurants. But I remember also, the restaurants are more like for the people, like visiting. I'll never forget, we were walking down the street. It was like, what was it, 12 o'clock, I think it was, or maybe it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then next thing, for those that know, we are going overtime today. We're going to do a little overtime.
Let's do it.
So we were walking, and next thing you know, I saw all the gates going down of all the restaurants that I wanted to go to. The gates were going down. 1, 2, you just heard all the noise. All the gates were going down, and you heard the gates going across, and you saw people locking the doors. And I was like, what is going on? I think it was like, it must have been 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And my friend was like, oh, they're all going home to have food. They're all going home to have food with their family.
Siesta.
It's siesta. I was like, this is for real. I read about siesta, but I had never seen it. And literally, the whole city shut down. And they shut down for 2 to 3 hours. To spend time with their kids. They pick up the kids from school. They go home. They do the homework. They have a meal together. And then they come back to work at like 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock and work till like 9 o'clock at night to do their businesses. And so when I'm looking at your work, and I get so excited about stuff like this, but I'm a traveler. I like to travel. And I could see this being so, I mean, you could just keep going on and on. You could like have an exhibition in Spain. You can have an exhibition in Paris. You can have an exhibition in Atlanta. You can, and you could choose what kind of chefs you're going to feature and the history of that. Because I think all cultures, like the Spanish cultures, again, they went through their renaissance of they're just cooks.
Yeah.
Or when you go to Italy, they're just cooks.
Yeah.
But the evolution of people becoming and using the title of chef, that they are now controlling the kitchen, they're controlling what happens. It's like they're the directors of a play. Man, what you shared triggers so many layers of thinking around the folks that create food. And man, so where do you see us? And this is, we're gonna close it out. We're doing a little overtime here. I hope folks don't mind. But where do you see yourself 5 years from now? I know that's a long distance thought.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, is it in this art that this new, I think this is a new mantle for you that's been handed to you to share all this amazing work of so many amazing individuals. It's almost like you have now a mandate.
Yeah.
You have a mandate now to do this.
Yeah. I feel a responsibility
to
continue telling stories. You know, Ron, I love that you said that this work is transferable to other cultures, because I think I started this with chefs of color. My Instagram name is FotoDiaspora because I'm really fascinated by movement of people and how that immigration flow changes our sociology. And so when I think about my future, I think about telling stories of people in movement. And immigration has changed their lives. So, you know, I really enjoy, you know, talking about food, and food is always going to be, I think, something that unifies people, and I see as a great equalizer in bringing us together. When you study different cuisines, we're not quite as different as we actually have more alike than we have in difference. And so I love that aspect of it. I love how food can bring us together and make us sit at a table and talk about whatever we're dealing with. Take a load off and unite and really have positive, constructive discussions. And food is something that all of us need to motivate us, to give us strength. And so I love that nature of the medium of telling stories through food. But for me, more broadly, what I want to do is build upon this momentum to tell more stories of people through diaspora. So I actually, you know, I got to give a shout out. I just signed with a creative storytelling agency. And so shout out to Vibe Village and Toomey, who is my agent now, is going to be working with me on working with brands and publications that are aligned with my storytelling journey. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, you know, we have some things that we're cooking up. And
I love it. Cooking up.
Literally and figuratively. And we're going to continue telling stories of people who are the products of diasporas, and ways they have been influenced by those diasporas, how they have brought their culture with them, how their culture has evolved through diaspora, And that's really my goal. That's what inspires me. That's what I'm fascinated by. It's what I spend my spare time reading about. Is people changing through movement. And so I want to explore that in things like athletics. I love sports. So I'm
Yes.
fascinated about that in the realm of athletics. I'm also fascinated by it in just the form of profession, and in just everyday life. I don't know if you were able to see it, but Steve McQueen, famous British director,
Yes.
produced a short film series called Small Acts a few years ago, which
Okay.
told the story of the Caribbean diaspora, specifically to London, the UK.
Mm.
And I was so inspired by that series because there are not many depictions of the diaspora that I come from.
Yes.
And so what Steve McQueen was able to do is tell these stories that were based around the 60s, 70s, and 80s of people who were first generation immigrants, and what was the struggle that they faced in assimilating to, in this case, British culture. What was the discrimination that they faced? How did it influence their food? How did it influence their professional development? How did it influence their family structures? I'm fascinated by those stories. I think there's a
Yes.
real gap in depictions and storytelling of those sort of narratives, and I'm fascinated in exploring more of them. And so that's one of the things that's on my to-do list, right? Is to
Wow.
tell more stories of other people's diaspora, but also bring more visibility to underrepresented diasporas like my own.
Nice. I have another question from Chris. Chris Baylor says, in the lane of traveling exhibits, have you considered reaching out to chefs in other cities to level with the art community as a true way in and a win-win for all involved?
Absolutely. One of the cool things about this project and some of the recognition that it's gotten now is that I've been able to get a more national and even international footprint. So I was nominated for a James Beard Award for photography for this project. And so, as such, my work was presented at a gallery in London. So actually, at the same time that Photoville was, I was also in London, and so having chefs in London reach out to me, and recognize the
Wow.
work, and across the country, whether it be California, Atlanta, Chicago, chefs really all over have connected, reached out, and it's been incredible. Like the feedback. And so there's gonna be more. There's gonna be I think a broader reach beyond just New York City. Ron, I'm the type of person, like I like to do things really like thoroughly and well, and
Yes.
I believe in not boiling the ocean. So
Yes.
when I think you cast too broad of a scope, it dilutes your work. So I just
Yes.
wanted to get real focused on New York City, the moment and the movement that's happening in New York City right now, and then from there we can expand the lens a bit. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. Is okay. We did this in New York. Now, what about what's happening in other cities? Is there stories to tell? One of the things, I love wine, for instance, and there's this whole movement of Black vintners in Napa Valley, Sonoma Valley, and in the California wine region. Fascinating. Um, these are stories that I'm interested in,
Wow.
and so we think about these topics, and I think about not just in the food space but also in the beverage space. How do we expand the lens to bring more visibility to these people?
Wow. And here's another question. And it looks like this is the last question here. This is from Aya. She said, any plans to create a documentary or movie about your exhibit for upcoming film festivals, such as Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival, etc.?
So I thank you for that question. I don't have any plans. I think filmmaking is I have a lot of respect for filmmakers, and so I don't think I am there yet. I just started dabbling in film. I bought a Super 8 camera, and I
Ooh.
film and started documenting some of the chefs in film. So footage is coming soon. That's going to be really cool. But as I mentioned to you, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I like things to be done really well. So I have to spend a little bit more time working on that. But I don't have any plans to make this into a film. Um, I was in the shower this morning. Again, I'm always thinking about like creatively, what can I build upon? And I was in the shower this morning thinking about some film concepts, but I don't have any immediate plans to turn this series into film.
Wow. Also, here's another question from Omar, my mentor, and amazing photographer in Texas as well. He says, "What's in your camera bag?"
Oh, okay. So my camera bag is a Leica Deluxe 7. I love Leica cameras, love their interface, love their lenses. Um, and then the other camera that I shoot with is a Sony A7 IV. Um, and love that camera as well. Super fast, mirrorless, 32 megapixel. And love that bad boy. And then my Super 8, I have a 1974 Minolta Super 8 camera, which I just added to the bag. And so that adds like a whole nother element of film, shooting that on 8mm film, and just having a blast with that so far. So those are my three bad boys. We kind of rotate them in and out. The Deluxe 7 is with me at all times. Anywhere I go, I bring my Deluxe 7 with me. That's my everyday camera. I'm a big believer in like shooting whenever you can, and really capturing moments. I mentioned my background is as a street photographer, and so wherever I'm going, even if it's just I'm going to the city real briefly, I generally have my Deluxe 7 with me, so I can just capture things that are happening in real time. And so
on that is that camera, you had that camera when you were at the seaport, correct?
I did. I had my Deluxe 7 on me.
And the lens was that a 28mm on that lens?
Yes.
You had?
Yeah. So it's I think it's important for photographers to have a few different options in their bags. I tell people you should obviously get a starter camera, but I think it's really important to have something that is relatively compact that you can kind of bring with you. That's a high quality camera, that you can just start capturing moments and really see what your style is. Because
Yes.
part of the beauty of this art is we're all a little different. The way you would photograph something is different than I would photograph it, Ron.
Yes.
And so you have to find your stride. And in order to do that, you have to keep shooting.
Woo, man. I could go on all day with you, sir. Omar said, here's one more question that popped in here from Aparo, another amazing photographer here in New York City in the fashion industry and models and all that good stuff. She says, can you, I already got it. Okay, I already took care of that one for you.
Yeah, it's FotoDiaspora. There you go.
There it is.
FOTO-Diaspora, one word.
There we go. And Omar says, awesome. I have a A7 IV as well, but I mainly shoot on my Nikon Z8, which I'm so jealous of his Z8. I want a Z8. If anyone wants to donate, the Z8 is like so out of range for me at the moment, but every review has been like so amazing, and I actually had to hold it in my hand and click away with it at the B&H, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want this camera.
Well, I'm bummed because I heard Leica is a sponsor of Photoville, and I didn't get a chance to do any of the Leica, like they generally let you play with like a Q3.
Yes.
And really want a Q3. Like that's my wish list camera is a Q3. So I didn't get a chance to play with it this year, but if anybody wants to donate to my Q3,
we photographers, we need donations.
yeah, if you're so inspired.
Wow, man. This was awesome. I'm gonna have to let you go. I know you got a day with your family and time, and I want to keep you here forever, but I just want to say first, thank you for even allowing us to give you a little stay here for a little extra overtime. And but this was so, guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, please send the applause or some hearts and love for Mr. Brendan Miller. I mean, I'm hoping that you guys will share his story, share what he's doing. If you happen to see this video later on YouTube and you're like, oh wow, this was so cool. Well, everything, I'll have all his information inside the description. And you know how we roll. Where I'm going, right? Where I'm going to say is, here we go. Like, subscribe, and share. I think this is, I mean, Brendan is our second guest for season 2. Last week we had Chaz Langley, and this
Shout
week
out to Chaz.
Yes, because Chaz loves your work. And when I told him you were going to be, he was like, what?
Yeah, Chaz is a big mentor of mine and has been really helpful and is a good dude.
Chaz is a great, just a kindle of light, just there to support so many people. But so you got all the information. Make sure you like, make sure you share, make sure you subscribe. If you are in the YouTube channel, if you're still there, sometimes, okay, everybody's still there. Make sure, if you're in YouTube, make sure you come on over to, if you're in Instagram, cross over to YouTube, click onto YouTube, go to Touch Base Daily in the YouTube, and make sure you you get a better experience when you're in YouTube or in Touch Base Daily. So pop on to our YouTube channel, subscribe and like as well. If you are in the Instagram page, come on over. The great thing about YouTube is that this gets saved. This is in algorithms. It's also in the search. The best search engine in the world is YouTube. So maybe TikTok, but so it's YouTube, and they tie. Let's put it that way. And so that way you'll be able to just type in Brendan Miller's name, and this will show up. This is going to be in the algorithm because it'll be hashtag Brendan Miller. So you'll be able to see that. So make sure you click on here. Let's see what you guys are. Did I get some? Okay, there we go. I'm seeing the applause. I see them. Thoroughly enjoyed today's interview. Thank you. There's some applause. Empire says, I want a V8 too. And I see this was wonderful. This was a wonderful convo. 100%. Hands down. Anthony, another amazing photographer in Texas, sports photographer. Awesome. He is sending out some applause. We got our great and wonderful, beautiful Trish from the West Coast. She says, love, great talk. Great doing BM. I see here, or we'll connect with you. Great. Gwendolyn says, great conversation. So I think people enjoyed this today.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I enjoyed talking with you, Ron, and I'm really, it was great meeting you, and I'm always inspired by people like yourself who have been in this photography world for quite a while, based in New York, and just even hearing your story when we were at Photoville, and your career transition, very inspiring for me. So thank you for creating this space for photographers to talk, for us to share our experiences.
Yes.
For being, a beacon of light yourself in bringing people together and creating community. This is important, and spaces like this really inspire great work.
Thank you, man. You blessed us. You blessed us today. And if someone walked away with no wisdom here, and you gave a lot of gems today. You may not think so, but I'm telling you, you were just dropping them you were just dropping them as you were going.
Maybe what not to do.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much, man. Guys, I'm gonna let Brendan go. And Brendan, thank you again, Mr. Brendan Miller, y'all. Mr. Brendan Miller, thank you so much.
Y'all, thank y'all. All right.
Guys, you guys, this was beautiful. I am so grateful for this man popping on here. And this was an impromptu conversation. And this is what I always say about it is so every friendship, every relationship, everything we do, right, begins with a hello, right? If we can condition ourselves to just get out of ourselves and say hello to the people that we come across in our daily walk, in our daily lives, it could change your life. It can change others' lives by the simple hello. So I leave you with that thought. Say hello to a stranger today. Say hello to someone that you don't know. Say hello. Every friendship begins with a hello. Take care, guys. Have a wonderful Juneteenth. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great time. Reflect on this amazing day, but also rejoice that we have each other. We have the diaspora. We have all of us working together for a better world and a better country. And, let's do it. Let's do it together. Say hello. Later.